Hello, everybody. Hello, Bettina. How are you today?
Hi, Eric. Hi, everyone. I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing really nice, thanks.
Good.
Had a nice day off. I got up really early today. I woke up. I don't know if you ever had these, but sometimes I wake up like after only like 6 or 5.5 hours of sleep, like with no alarm, and just I wake up almost too early, and so then I have this wide open morning, and then I usually will treat myself to a nap, as I usually keep Fridays clear before the show, as I try to, anyways. And I've definitely enjoyed that today. I had about like 5 hours to do nothing when I woke up, and then I took a little nap, and then went for a walk and got some groceries, and here we are. So I can't complain at all. It's been a wonderful day.
That's good. You have to psych yourself up for this, do you?
That's right. Yeah, to wind myself up
So
to have a conversation with you.
it's so much. It's too
Yeah,
much.
yeah. The sun's so bright today. It's so great,
I know.
to get that sunshine like on you. It's just, oh, it lifts you. Like it's almost like, we talk all the time. Well, everybody wants to lift their mood, and in a way, it's kind of why I found myself to this work, and why somebody might find themselves here watching the video. And there's a lot of things that we can do, and we always talk about having things in our toolbox. And boy, we sure reach to a lot of things to elevate our mood. And boy, the sun is a real dependable. If the sun is shining, I mean, get out there. That's free, and has so many benefits beyond just lifting your mood.
Oh, absolutely. All that vitamin D is fantastic, especially, we haven't had a really bad winter in terms of snow and cold, but we haven't had a lot of sun until just recently. So it's really nice to see it shining. And I don't know, there's something about the sun that makes you want to put your shorts on.
Yes. It makes you remember all the things you do in the summertime that you enjoy so much. Yeah.
Exactly. Start ordering seeds and, for the garden.
Exactly. Yeah, you get excited when the ground gets a little bit soft.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
and you have like 5 days over zero, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I could
We
put
should,
stuff in there.
yeah. No, can't really do that. I want to, but I can't do it.
It's calling you. That's good. It's building up ambition. It's building up
Yes.
some motivation and excitement
Yeah.
to create it again for this year.
All that anticipation instead of instant gratification.
Yeah. I just find that too. Even when I was a kid, those were some of the things I enjoyed most. It's going to sound juvenile, of course it is, because I was a kid. But like when the new football game would come out for PlayStation or something, and it would be like the release date would be something like September 12th, and it was like middle of August, and I would read all these articles, and I would get like magazines that were talking about the new features and stuff. And those like 3 weeks, I was just like playing it in my head and desiring so badly to get my hands on it. And it's funny when you become an adult and you have some money, and you have so many more options for things to do. I think you have so much more freedom. So sometimes we don't put ourselves in that position of like having to wait a month for for something that we just do for fun. And I remember those times. I hold those times close to my heart, about how excited I would get about getting little pieces or snippets of information, and I would start to fantasize about the fun I would have once I finally was able to play with it. And it's nice to when something can happen, like a garden or things of that ilk, when they happen as adults, and they kind of harkens back to those feelings of just being so excited but not yet able to partake in, or maybe when Peter hasn't been home in a week, like that. Like there's something that great about that anticipation of just knowing that you're gonna have a fantastic evening or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that feeling, well, what I call the Christmas Eve feeling,
There
that,
it is. Yes.
um, of all the excitement that's going to happen when this particular event comes about. And it's really interesting because I almost like that part better than the actual event. People are always wanting to say, "Do you want to know what I got you for your birthday?" Or "Do you want to know what I got you for Christmas?" It's like, don't tell me. I don't want to know. Like, I love to relish that anticipation and the building excitement of what could it be. And um, yeah, yeah, I really like that part of it. It's really cool.
Uh, how was your week this week?
It was. I want to say it was the week from hell, and and then I'm thinking, just before it came out of my mouth, I'm thinking, oh, don't say that. But you know what? It really was the week from hell, because I came from hell into the light again. So I kind of like that. I have, as you know, been doing A Course in Miracles, which when you do it with a group, as in this online group that I'm doing it, it seems to have a much stronger energy that it carries with it. And so I have been finding, even though I've been through the lessons, I think, like I said, 4 times before, this is the 4th time, whatever. This is by far the most intense, the deepest, and I think the most I've gotten out of it. And so let me see if I can get my sequence of events correct. On Monday night, for some reason, I came to the realization that I'm afraid to speak my truth because I am afraid of being abandoned.
Mm.
Now that sounds very, well, okay, whatever. But apparently it was a huge realization for me, because I've been clenching since around the time that Peter came up here. Which people would say, well, doesn't that tell you something? It actually wasn't telling me anything. And I kept saying, well, it's really got nothing to do with Peter. And in the end, it doesn't. It has everything to do with me and how I see the whole situation. And he said something when I shared with him that awareness, that realization. He said to me, oh, he said, okay, so before I came along, you had nothing to lose. And then when I came into the picture, you had a lot to lose. And so all that fear came up, and I went, oh my God, that is so astute. That is so, and I could feel it in my emotions, and I could feel the emotion rising from it. And I think he was right. I think that was just another piece of that whole, if I speak my truth, you might get angry and leave me. And he said, but he said, when you get scared, it feels like you're pushing people away. And I said, yeah, I think it's that old thing like, well, you can't fire me, I quit. Right? Or you can't break up with me because I'm breaking up with you. And I think that whole idea of, as a 5, pushing the world away and, holding up in my little space by myself is really all about, I'm not going to give you the opportunity to abandon me. I'm going to abandon you first. Yeah. And so that was, for me, it seemed like, oh, this is so cool. I'm finally getting to the, the meat of it. This is really great. I had no idea how actually big it was of a thing for me. Tuesday, I woke up and I said, oh, I'm not going to have coffee this morning, which might have been a mistake. Anyway, within a couple of hours of being up, I had this massive headache that just wiped me right out. But, it's me. So I just keep bopping along, doing what needs to be done, living life, because that's what I do. And to me, it's like, I have no reason to let it hold me back. So I have this massive headache. I'm meeting a friend for dinner, and then I'm going to choir afterwards, and then I'm going out afterwards with a couple of friends from choir for a drink. And in the daytime, I'm baking for this party on Sunday for my mom and going about my day. And this thing is just pounding at me, and I am like angry and upset and scared, and like everything's going through my head, and I'm just like so pissed off. Like, this is not the time. I haven't got time for this headache. But all the while I'm going, this headache is telling me something. And I said to Peter, it's like my body is trying to let go of all this crud and crap, and it's all getting stuck up here in my head because I'm like analyzing and overthinking, and and I think my headache was to get me out of my head. In other words, your head hurts too much to think about, right? Anything.
Yeah.
And then all the collection of the energy, just the pressure of it was too much. So, and I was tired too, because it takes a lot out of you to have pain like that. So the next day I get up and I think, oh, well, it's going to be gone tomorrow. I don't usually, like, it's very, very rare that I would have a headache 2 days in a row. I got up the next day and the damn headache was still there. And I was like, oh, no, 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 this can't happen. Because I had a lot to do. But I forged ahead and I kept going, and I was like, just getting things done. And like, I could feel myself tensing against the headache. And, just as I was doing the things I was doing during the day, it was still like being with the pain and being with the emotions and just letting them sort of run their course. And then Wednesday night, I went to bed early, and I woke up and I went, oh, it's got to be like 3 a.m. And I look at the clock and it's like 11:30. And I think I'd been asleep for about an hour by that point. And that was fine. The headache was still there. I go back to sleep and I start having these weird and wild dreams, like terror, like going through this whole range of emotions: fear, anger, rage, guilt, back to fear, like terror, absolute terror. I couldn't tell you what the dreams were, what they were about, nothing. All I know is I was having all these weird, terrifying dreams. And then I woke up about 3 o'clock-ish. And when I woke up, the headache was still there. And all these like snapshots of sort of visions and thoughts and all these things were going just popping up, like just like little snapshots. And it was, somebody did something and I was like raging about it. And it was like not even something big. And then something else came up and I was suddenly terrified. And it was just, again, it was just this whole, but I was awake this time. So I was having this waking sort of, it almost made me feel like going through a black hole, where you're like spinning around and you're seeing all this stuff and you're experiencing all this stuff. And then at 4 o'clock, I fell asleep. And when I woke up, the headache was gone and I felt so much better. And ever since then, I've just felt fantastic. And it's like, oh my gosh, that was the most interesting processing that I've ever been through. And it wasn't until then that I realized whatever that was something absolutely huge for me, even though at the beginning I thought, oh, okay, I got it. It's not that big a deal. But apparently it was big, really big. So I don't even know what to think about it, but it was so interesting. And I afterwards, and this morning actually in my journal, I wrote about, I've talked about the threshold, and the point at which the fear is the worst is at the point of crossing the threshold. And then I could see that life is a series of thresholds. And we stand on the threshold in our suffering. And at the moment before we cross the threshold into the presence of love, that is when the suffering is at its most intense. And when we cross over that threshold into the presence of love, suddenly everything is gone because it was an illusion, something that the mind created to keep us from remembering who we are. And that series of thresholds that we go through every day, really every moment, all we have to do is have the courage to cross that threshold into the presence of love, and that's where we find our peace. And then it was like, oh, yeah. And then I felt this really huge sense of gratitude for that knowledge, that awareness that I have that choice to cross a threshold every single day. I don't have to stay in the suffering, and I don't have to stand on the threshold forever. I just need the courage to cross that threshold. So it's been a wild week.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. I can resonate with so much of what you said, from feeling afraid to speak your truth and having that realization, to it's like suffering through like a real physical malady, and then having wild anger and fear and anxiety in dreams, um, and then coming out the other side of it feeling a little bit relieved. Like what an emotional trip, um, for you over a period of like 3 or 4 days. And it's fantastic that you're able to share and share with such detail, because I think anybody listening would have an experience or have experiences like that, but when do we ever talk about it? So thank you.
I'm happy to share because, I mean, seriously, I always feel like, there's certain things that I go through, and you feel like you're the only one that's ever been through this because people don't talk about it. And I feel like talking about it might help someone else who is sitting there thinking, nobody would understand, or nobody gets what I'm going through, or knows, gets me, or knows what it's about. And that's not true. That's not true. I think that that we all share that journey of suffering and trying to find that peace that we're all looking for. And I'm not afraid to share the crappy stuff. I'm really not, because it's that crappy stuff and facing it and loving ourselves through the crappy stuff that brings us into the light. And it's just about shining the light on the darkness, which reminds me of a saying, a quote from Carl Jung. I've liked this ever since I read it, and I probably have read it before, but I think it's really speaks to the experience that I've been through. There is no coming to consciousness without pain. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own soul. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. I think that is so perfectly what expresses what the journey is all about. It's not about always being happy. It's about bringing the light to that awareness of the suffering and stepping across the threshold into the light to bring it into the open, so that you see how unreal it is. You see how unthreatening it is. While it's in the darkness, it's a threat. It's dangerous. It's scary. But when you bring it into the light, it's like, oh my gosh, it's not that big a deal. So I'm happy to share that. I'm happy to let people know they're not alone, and to show people that just because I've been doing this work for 12 or 13 years now, 14 years, wow, that I still am going through things. I'm still learning about myself. I'm still allowing things into my awareness that I've been holding on to for a long, long time. But I know the value in allowing it to come into the light, and I know what to do with it now. Whereas 14 years ago, I hadn't got a clue as to how to deal with anxiety and panic and everything else, anger and everything else that I was going through. So I'm grateful for that. And I would never want to hold on to something that could be so beneficial to other people.
Yeah. It's so beautiful, and so such a useful conversation to have, because we don't have these conversations. They're just drowned out by conversations in a mindset revolving around accomplishment and getting things done, and who are you in context of that. And I think, if I can go out on a limb a little bit, I know that we're mostly watched by women, so it wouldn't be a problem. But I do feel like that is one of the under represented, or it's a criticism I don't hear enough about. The way that a male-dominated society has been organized. There's lots on the surface, and there's lots about violence and all this kind of stuff, which is absolutely true, and inequality and all that kind of stuff, and that's absolutely true as well. But it's this where this is never brought up in schools. This doesn't have a whole lot to do with external accomplishment, but in a way it does. It has everything to do with it, because so much, in as much as we are conflicted and unaware and confused, and feeling isolated about these feelings and these experiences that we have over a 3-day period, just like you shared, that I've had many, many times, even as a male. Who would I talk to about this? Where would I get the impression that I wasn't weird, or that boy, I'm messed up somehow, or should I really be this emotional? Should I, what is going on? This is really affecting my ability to go 8 to 5 every day. when I go to bed early and wake up at 11:30 and then go back to sleep and have crazy dreams, and I have no time to process because I got stuff to do. It's never, we don't talk about our dreams really in school. We don't talk about it. I don't see the space for it. And one of the things I really love, it's a little bit of a tangent, but like Mr. Rogers, it's incredible, like the world that he created on television for 15 years, and the advocacy. You watch him talk in front of Congress and in front of the budgeted committees for PBS and so on. I mean, he's just absolutely a marvel. And if you haven't seen him speak outside of the character he plays on his show, he's marvelous. And he talks about all these things. But to talk about how pent up we can feel about anger and fear, because that whole fear about not speaking our truth because we're afraid of the consequences. I mean, who doesn't feel that? Who isn't ruled by that? You watch even people who come and converse with us professionally or just on the side. It's always about relationships, and it's always about not being able to get their needs met, or to be able to communicate effectively. It's the backbone of why so many of them fail. So many relationships fail, and it's a big part of it is because we're afraid to say what we feel in a place, and we don't know how to act. We don't know how to listen and create a safe space for the other as well. And I'm totally guilty of that. I've done that hundreds of times in relationships where, until I knew better, and even then I wasn't perfect 100% of the time. But so many times I reacted in a way that wouldn't even allow the other person to share this emotional vulnerability with me. And it's only because it's only been a recent development in my abilities. And so it's a beautiful and useful conversation to come full circle, that to have this, and for you to for you to share that. It makes it feel okay, and it also highlights the importance of sleep, because if we can't do it consciously, there is a part of us that will do it unconsciously. And having those dreams of like severe anger and severe lashing out and severe fear, can help us work through some things. And I think it only highlights the importance of not cutting our sleep short and living a life that allows us to sleep enough for us.
Yes. And I think, all we need to do is put the intention out there of seeing things differently, of learning, of being open to seeing the truth about what's causing our suffering. We only need to put the intention out there, and really the rest will be taken care of. You may not recognize it, though. That's the thing. You may not recognize the way in which it's taking place, because you may be looking for it to manifest in a specific way, in which case you will, well, I'm not saying you personally,
Yeah.
in which case we will miss it completely because we were looking for something specific and it didn't show up in that form. So it's about setting the intention and then being open to anything that might be showing you the way, that might be a signpost to what it is that you want to shift and what it is you want to change. So, but it's hard. It's not easy, and I have never professed that it was. But it's really hard for people to take the path that requires a little bit of work and a little bit of pain, because they think it will take them deeper into the pain. And in fact, avoiding the pain and looking for the magic pill is the very thing that's going to keep them stuck in the pain. And it's only in the awareness of what exactly is going on, and letting go of the denial and being open to seeing the truth, and maybe feel a little bit of pain before you cross that threshold, until you to find the truth. It's not always easy, but life isn't easy when we are suffering. So a little bit of dis-ease to get to the ease of living, the peace of who we are, is, for me, it's more than worth the what I go through to get there. And when I look back on it, it's never as bad. It's like childbirth. It's never as bad as you thought it was at the time. Because you've got something to show for it.
I'm still not signing up for it.
No. But I mean, I was talking a couple of weeks ago about having kidney stones and how painful that is, and watching someone go through having a kidney stone, making its way through the system. And I'm watching them and I'm going, it's just like having a baby. I said, but here's the thing, you don't have anything to show for it in the end. At least if you have a baby, you're so full of the joy of this new life in your arms that you forget the pain instantaneously. Well, I'm saying this journey is more like having a baby and less like having a kidney stone.
Yes. It's not all for naught.
That's right. There's something that you get something to show for it at the end. So it's all good.
And even better, you get to sleep better afterwards.
And you absolutely do sleep better. You do sleep better. And I think one of the other things that came to me after that was, I've been so afraid of fear. And after that night, and some people would call it the dark night of the soul, and I have to disagree with that, because the soul doesn't know darkness, right? Whatever you want to call it, to be in that terror and to lie there awake in my bed and go, I don't care. Bring it on. Because I can't run from it. I'm lying in bed here. I can't run away from it. So bring it on. I can deal with it. And look, I live to tell the tale. So I don't think fear ever killed anybody. I may be wrong, but I don't think fear ever killed anybody. And the thing is that coming out of it, I don't fear fear as much as I did before. Like, I think I'm much better prepared now, having gone through that. I'm much better prepared now to face fear. I'm not saying it's going to be pleasant every time, but I think I'm in a much better position to accept it than I ever have before. To be able to move through it, to be able to face it and say, yes, I know you're there. And yes, you can be big and as scary as you want, but I can stand here and let you be as big and scary as you want. And it's totally okay, because I am not, there's no threat to me.
Yeah.
Only what my mind decides is a threat.
Yeah, there's so much power in that. Finally standing up to it. Knowing, having that pillar, knowing what's on the other side, you're going to be fine, and yeah, challenging it. Yeah, it's something really, really brave and fills you up with power. You say, fine, come at me.
It is very courageous. People say, oh, I don't have any courage. I'm not very brave. You're brave every day getting up out of bed and facing your life, good, bad, or indifferent. That takes courage to face whatever it is, to stand at those thresholds, to put your foot over and walk into the light, and allow that light to shine on whatever that darkness is, so that you can see and you can walk away from it. That takes courage every single day. And we all do it every day, which means we all have courage. It's not about acts of heroism. It's about walking through your life, being an act of courage.
Yeah. Yeah. And how great is it to take the weight off and just speak your truth at the end of the day too, and let give the other the gift of responding to your truth, to your authenticity.
Yeah.
Rather than always hiding it from them, so they never really truly get to see you. I mean, in a way, it's mean to do. It's controlling.
And you're living a lie.
Yeah.
And when I say speaking my truth, I don't mean like raging and yelling and screaming at someone because I'm angry. I mean speaking from that place of vulnerability, from that place that's, saying how a certain experience is affecting you, being able to express that, whether the other person takes it well or not. It's being able to express it and say, this isn't working for me. This is really, I'm feeling very abused, or I am feeling, this scares me, or this makes me feel angry. It's not to say it's the other person's fault, but it's being able to express that without being worried that the other person is going to take it the wrong way and get angry and whatever. They have to deal with it in whatever way they have to deal with it. Can you be okay with that? Can you be as okay with their anger as you can be with your own?
Yeah.
Which means you got to be okay with your own.
Right. Yeah, one of those examples that is very true for me is that, like, I'm withholding from you because of these things inside of me, and you can make it, you can word it in a way that is not blaming or not threatening at all, because it has nothing to do with them. It's like, I realize I'm holding back because of these things that I'm carrying with me, and just being able to air those is a tremendous opportunity for love to be built and to be shared between the two parties.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because as I'm sure, we keep extending the show, but as I'm sure, in the way that Peter listens and the way that he responds to you, you feel even more connected with him, and there's something even deeper about trusting him with that.
Yeah, and I mean, even being able to share that truth of, I'm afraid to speak my truth because I'm afraid of being abandoned. That's a big truth to share.
Yeah.
You've got to really feel safe to share something like that.
Yeah.
You know?
And for a man who's worthy to hear that, there's that is extraordinarily attractive to hear from your woman, or the woman who you're in love with.
Exactly. So all you men out there, you create a safe space. And all you women out there, create a safe space. Because men need a safe space. Because I think women often have other women who understand that. But men really need someone to create a safe space for them so that they can do something that they've been told all their lives they shouldn't do. And that is to express their emotions. It's my word of advice for the day.
The word of counsel.
Yes. Free counseling.
Oh, that was great. We've gone in a big arc here, but I think it's been a really great show, and it'd be fantastic if you'd be willing to finish us off with a meditation, Bettina.
Oh,
Send us off into
absolutely.
our day. Excellent.
Absolutely. Let's close our eyes. Take a deep breath. And breathe deeply into your belly. And feel that oxygen as it permeates every soul of your being, as it brings you down to the base of your spine, as the energy moves to your feet and your hands, and feeling your feet deeply rooted to the ground. And as you breathe into this beautiful, life-giving space, just picture yourself in a place that you create for yourself, where you feel safe and protected, comfortable, loved, and at peace. This could be any space you want it to be. Picture everything around you and experience the sights, the sounds, the smells, and the touch of everything that is around you. And each experience of the senses brings you into a place of being more safe and more comfortable and more at peace. And in this space, this creates the setting for you to feel everything that you need to feel, to set the intention to see the truth of your suffering, to see the blocks to the peace and love that you long for. And in this space, you are safe enough to see and accept the truth of those blocks and to cross that threshold into the presence of love, where you can shine the light on the suffering and the pain and return to the peace and love that is the foundation of who you are. You're ready? Wiggle your fingers and your toes and bring yourself back to the world.
I love that exercise. The way that you finish it, wiggling the fingers and the toes. It makes you like aware of like all that you have at your disposal.
It makes you feel alive, right? It's like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you everybody for joining us this week, and we'll see you all again next.
Have a great week, everyone.